Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and an old dirt road. Are you ready to go? Everybody, thanks for joining us today on Live Music Nation podcast. I'm your host, Gill. We're with John Nichols, 5 Cent Productions. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. So, John, we talked a little bit off camera earlier. Give us a little background on you personally, where you came from, a little bit about your life.
Did something just happen?
I'm good on my end.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I went to the University of Texas, and then my first job out of college was with Dean Witter, which eventually, after 5 name changes, became Morgan Stanley, and I was there for 23 years. I started doing some benefit stuff on the side within the music industry in 2009, and then in 2013 I basically sold my practice at my old firm and have been doing this pretty much full time.
Very cool, very cool. Tell us about what you've been doing the past year and a half. What your concert schedule looks like, what type of concerts you're doing.
Well, looking back or looking forward, because in the fall of 2020, when everybody thought the world was going to come to an end, I've been putting on an annual event to raise money for an organization here in Albuquerque that works with homeless teens. And I had to put on an event, and I was just trying to figure it out. So I was talking to all these different streaming platforms, and it just seemed like trying to get a bunch of artists all over the country to all coordinate was going to be a futile attempt. So I got in my van with my dog, and we started here in Albuquerque. We went to Tucson to record an artist, and then we went to Austin. We recorded 8 artists. We went to New Orleans. We recorded 4 artists. And then we went to Nashville and recorded 8 artists. I released the whole thing as a 4-part streaming event called On the Road with Aretha. That's the name of my dog. We raised $100,000 for the organization here in Albuquerque. It was
wow.
It was amazing. So, for me, like that, I had to get the hell out of my house and was just nuts. And so I just got in my van and did it.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, pre-COVID, what did things look like for you and your agency?
Well, I recently, there's an old theater in Albuquerque called the Lobo Theater that was originally a movie theater, opened back in I think 1938. And for the last 21 years, it's been a church.
Okay.
So a lot of people kind of lost touch with this place, but a guy here locally has reopened it as a venue, and I helped him basically get the place open. So the last year I've just been, I was in there doing everything from subcontracting, contractors to do anything from tile to lighting to electrical or whatever. And then, just rolling up my sleeves wherever I could help out. And just trying to get the place open was an act of God in this environment, building supplies and suppliers and contractors. Even though I was trying to help the music business, I felt like I was kind of in the construction industry for the last year. But I'm just booking some shows there. I'm not there permanently. So I also am working on a couple of shows out at the Sandia Amphitheater this summer, and this will be they literally shut down when COVID started and have been shut down for 2 years. Oh
my gosh,
they did not come back. So hoping that them reopening and our mask mandate just finally ended 2 weeks ago. So I'm just that all of these things culminate in people getting excited to get back out and see shows again, because attendance has been light.
That is tough. A 2-year mask mandate. That's probably the furthest that we've heard. Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, New Mexico, there's only 2 million people in this entire state. It's a poor state. So our medical system can only handle so much. So,
gotcha.
pretty touch and go with that. So,
yeah.
It is what it is, dude. Like every part of the country is so different.
It is.
Like,
It is. That's it.
I don't know what was right or wrong, but I'm glad it's over because I think the biggest thing is just, in getting back to normal is making people feel safe. And I think removing the stigma of a mask mandate. I mean, we saw it the first show we had after they released it. Like we had the biggest we've had in the theater since we opened the thing.
Yeah.
And it was a Grateful Dead cover band. It wasn't, it was just a local Grateful Dead cover band. Right. So if that was any indication of how much people are pent up here, I think I hope it's an indicator of a good summer. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So your traveling concert series that you did, you met with a lot of different bands. You did travel to a lot of different parts of the country. What are some things that you learned from working with those groups that you think you're going to implement when you came back home to New Mexico and for the future?
For me, it was really cool because I was, a lot of the stuff was kind of singer-songwriter or whatever, but it was just for a lot of the people when I was out there, it was literally the first time they had performed since COVID had started. Cause I started in October and then finished like in January and released the live stream in February. But I think for me, it was just like getting like since then, 3 of the acts that I went out and saw, I've had come back to Albuquerque and perform here. So it was really about establishing relationships. And I didn't pay them a lot to participate, but dude, I did $100 a man for everybody who participated. And artists were like grateful for anything, so it was just good. I think for me, I established some really cool relationships. I think was probably the most important thing, and just keeping in touch with people, like a lot of people I think have just kind of crawled up in a hole, and I don't know. It's just staying out in front of people and keeping in touch with people.
For sure. What do you look for in an act, in an artist, in a band? What are some of the qualities you look for when it comes to booking them?
It's so funny you say that because I was talking to a kid who has a local band here, and for me, like the biggest thing is just a bit like if we're talking on a local level, once you kind of go up the run, you assume a lot of the things are in place. But I just want to see someone who's organized. They've got their shit together. When I ask for an EPK, they send it right back to me. I don't have to wait a fucking week.
Right.
Professional, and then just good social media numbers. The Lobo's a 500 cap, 450, 500 cap room. So I'm looking for, strong regional bands. So, I mean, again, like Austin is where I went to school. My family lives down there. So
sure.
I've already had 4 bands from Austin come through. So I'm really trying to stretch not red dirt because I'm not doing country, but I'm just trying to stretch, the triangle, the Dallas, Houston, Austin triangle. If any of these bands want to start venturing more west, I'm hoping we can get Lubbock, El Paso, and then have them come to Albuquerque to just help.
Sure.
Reach. And then the other thing is if they have a reasonable agent. I mean, at 450, 500 cap, I mean, a lot of these bands people don't know. And when these agents just come at you with these outrageous guarantees, I'm just like, dude, like, and I don't mind, I don't mind giving them something. I understand everyone's got costs, but if they've got a reasonable agent who's willing to share some on the back end, I mean, that's a big thing with me. I mean, if they're willing to do that, I'm going to continue to work with those people. So, I guess that's probably.
Yeah, no, that's good. So a solid, easy, accessible EPK, a group that's organized, and an agent who's eager to work with you. That makes good sense. I mean, we hear it all. We see, large guarantees. We see, riders are great, but you can't apply the same rider to a room of 400 that you can to a room of 5,000. It's just not. Exactly. It's not the same. And So I think you see that sometimes with, especially with agents who are looking for multiple acts over multiple parts of the country, and that makes good sense. That makes good sense. Let's have a little fun, John, for just a second. Top three acts you've seen your entire life.
Top 3 acts or top 3 shows?
Top 3 shows.
Top 3 shows. It's funny. I went to see the Cream reunion show at the Royal Hall.
Okay.
It was cool. I got back into town, and on Tuesday, I got back in like on a Monday, and I was completely jet lagged. And then Tuesday night, Leonard Skinner and the Allman Brothers played at the Amphitheater here, and I'm buddies with Derek, it was unbelievable because I just saw Clapton, and you think this crazy thing, but like that night, like I just never seen Derek and Warren go off the way they did. I mean, I still to this day, it was just like goosebumps the whole show.
Wow.
It's just like 2 Jedis going at it. And from there, like, I mean, it's hard. Like, I'm not even a huge fan, but when I saw Springsteen at Jazz Fest a few years ago, came out and started 30 minutes early and played 30 minutes over. I mean, the guy it just blew me away. Like, I was like, okay, now you understand, like, how everybody's talking about.
Exactly.
There's so many bands that I love, but the other show that touched me that I literally get goosebumps thinking about is I saw Tanya Tucker and Brandy Carlisle.
Really?
In Utah, and Tanya opened up, and then Brandy was the headliner, and I had never seen Brandy. I went up there because I was basically scouting her to try to bring her to Albuquerque, and wow. Like, if you want to go see some just, I mean, I've never heard like harmonies and vocals, and just the writing is so good. She's the the real deal for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so if you could book for one artist or one group, dead or alive, you had to book a U.S. and a world tour for them, who would you choose, dead or alive?
Bob Marley. Like, not even, I mean, there's not even like, I've watched, I mean, I did a documentary myself about him in college. And so I've been a fan, since I was a kid, but I just think not only musically, but I think he took it to a whole nother level, just becoming a global, basically, icon for peace. And to be able to see the impact, not only the music, but just his message would have, I think would be.
That's awesome. You're the first Bob Marley that we've ever had answer that. That's awesome.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Bob's the man.
That's so cool. That's so cool. All right. One of my personal favorite questions is, if you were speaking to the young John, 12, 11, 10 years old, maybe even earlier nowadays with all our technology, somebody that wanted to get in the music business, like just like you were in the financial world for a long time and then you switched over. I'm guessing that bug was in you at a much younger age. And looking back, if you're talking to 11-year-old John right now, knowing that bug is in him, what advice would you give him to get started in the business?
Well, the first thing is, if I was 11 years old, I wish I would have taken some music lessons. Like, I took trumpet for a year, but I wish that it wasn't that my mom didn't encourage it, but I wish that I would have like taken that more serious at that age. Because I think having that basic understanding only helps in the side as well. And then for me, again, it's no different than what I used to do at Morgan Stanley. I mean, business is business. It's just establishing good relationships, being transparent with people. And I like to book deals where everybody wins, man. I hate to go in a negotiation where someone's winning and someone's losing. And that's, I try to mix up the offers where it's not just flat guarantees all the time, where, hey, man, let's share in this and collaborate and be partners.
Yeah, I can, as an artist, I can speak. I agree with you 100%. And it's glad to see someone on the other side of that. There's nothing worse than finishing a night knowing that you gave your best performance that you could, and the venue lost money for whatever reason. Maybe it was weather, maybe it was COVID. There's so many factors that affect the venue that don't affect the band or the artist on stage if it's not designed that. And there's been many a nights that I've walked out of the room and I know that venue barely just broke even, and it rarely on the occasion that they lost money, and that just doesn't sit well with me. And because I agree, everybody can win, and especially now coming out of COVID, people are itching to get back out there, and especially and like you said, it's so regional based. Like Oklahoma, Iowa, they never really shut down. The casino stuff did, but the we didn't have to stop touring for a long time. We had to play different venues, smaller stuff, and but then I talked with somebody in Arizona 2 weeks ago. They've been wide open all the time, but then we talked, and I assume you make the assumption that you're just one state over, that it would be the same, and then here you are saying, no, man, New Mexico, here's our situation. Our healthcare is extremely poor, and and you've got a low population, and you've got you have a higher age bracket, overall in New Mexico, and then you have a lot of Indian tribes and things like that, and those all absorb costs at a very, very high rate. So I love the fact that you say that it should be in. I think from the top down, from your major arenas all the way down to your small venues. And the key for me that I heard you say is you've got to, no matter if you're in the music business or the financial world, you have to run it like a business. And for me, that was the greatest thing for me to realize is that, okay, you don't just sell merchandise so that somebody puts a sticker on their car when they go home that night. You also sell merchandise. Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and North Dirt Road, and you're ready to go. That's a great way for an artist to get revenue, because people want to support the artist. That the ticket buyers, they don't know whether that ticket's going to the venue or to the artist, Right. But they do know where that merchandise is going, and it's going in their fuel tank. And the moment that I realized, hey, I can do this as a career, but I was super blessed to have been a chiropractor for 15 years. I built my practice. I learned how to run a business. So then the music side, while I was developing my craft as a musician and becoming an artist, I already had an idea of how to turn that thing into a business, so when both parties can win, man, that's huge. And I, as much, if not more, falls on the artist than it does on the venue. I really believe that. And I think having an agent that works both sides is huge, but usually your agent is working for the artist. Your talent buyer is working for the venue, and you almost need a mediator for both,
Right.
So, yeah.
I think it's funny. There's good ones and bad ones, but I get this sense from some of the agents, they're trying to make up for the last 2 years, and it's like, dude, we've all been crushed. Like,
yeah.
Fucking kidding me? Like, especially if you're in a state like I was, where everything was shut down. I mean, we all know these artists have been touring the shit out of Texas and Florida and all these other places, where if they had a presence there. But we've all been taken out at the knees, so we all just need to come back together as one. I mean, that's
and the assumption that everybody's ready to get back out there, and they are, but they don't necessarily have the money to get back out there, because what we've seen is that they just develop new hobbies. Now their hobby, instead of going to the bar and watching a show or going to the casino and watching a show, they bought a boat last year, or they bought an RV, and so their finances aren't back to normal either, and I think, people jumping in too fast is but like I said, if you can be the guy, John, that unites the artist and the venue together with the agent that's going to work in the middle, that's obviously a win.
That's my ideal. I still feel like sometimes I'm working against the agents, and I get it. Everybody's vying for their person. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
For me going forward, I'm just not going to work with the agents that I don't like working. I mean, I have a couple of acts that I'm dear friends with on the personal side, but
Sure.
can't work with the agent. Like,
Yeah.
agent's just unreasonable, you know? And I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, I tried.
Yep.
And that's just, and I think another thing you asked me about what I learned is in my old profession, like, you know, when we would go in to try to get a deal, you know, every deal we got was basically assets under management. You know, it's
Yeah.
like we act every time I got a new client. So, you know, we would go in and it was like we wanted to win at all costs, but
Sure.
I hated taking no. But what I have had to learn the hard way in the music business is it's okay to pass and say no. You know, it's like not every deal is going to work, and I've learned that quickly.
Yeah.
And it's okay. There's going to be more acts coming through.
That's right. That's absolutely.
Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and